In terms of DC Universe characters, how is it to be bringing such popular characters to life?
You go. You start.
Well, I can't. Shazam, I don't know if it was, but Shazam, when I was 10 years old on the Mexican border, Shazam was a television. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't old enough.
You were, yeah. I was much younger. I mean, Zachary and I go back.
Much younger.
We go back, I think, 13 or 14 years or something, but he's amazing, right? I mean, we all know.
Wow, this actually worked out really well. I thought you were going to answer a question about you.
But no, it's such an honor to bring a DC character to life. Mine was I wouldn't say, he was pretty obscure. So in a weird way, I was fortunate in that I didn't have to contend with, like, other than a wonderful animated series with a great voice performance, but I didn't have to try and be like anyone else or not be like anyone else. So I'm just, I mean, when you're a comic book fan, just to have a thumbprint in the DC or Marvel worlds is so fun. And I've had an opportunity to do both with Blade and Ghost Rider and Gotham. So I'm stoked.
That's fun. It's so fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's like a kid and you just completely living all their dreams. Living all of your dreams, really. All of our dreams. I totally concur that Shazam is kind of a niche character, too. I mean, not niche, but you guys understand, Superman is the iconic, that is the particularly DC, but also just like in comics, probably Superman is probably the most famous name. And Shazam, whose real name is Captain Marvel, kind of got lost in the shuffle through the years from Fawcett Comics and all the way through to DC. So I didn't really have any, other than a wacky 70s TV show that was nothing like the comics, where it was like an old dude in a Winnebago. I mean, really, if you think about it.
And his mentor. Dude, I think his mentor's name was Mentor.
Oh, that's mental. So I didn't really have, we kind of got to create Shazam. I mean, we're using, obviously, canon from the comics in some respects, particularly the most recent. But I can't imagine the pressure it must be like to be Henry Cavill and step into being Superman when everybody has an idea of who Superman's supposed to be, and everybody has an idea of who Batman's supposed to be, and we're all really right about it too. We're all really fast about it. Let me tell you something about Supes. And it's unfortunate because then it becomes very myopic, and then filmmakers and or actors bringing these characters to life can get real hemmed in, and it's like, well, what exactly can we create in this? So I think we both were fortunate in that we got to kind of bring characters to life that didn't have a bunch of people saying, no, this is the way you have to do it. We got to kind of bring that to life.
I do think what's amazing about his performance, always in kind of all he does, humor. Do you know? I mean, it's like, because you do see some of these performances and they're humorless. And I don't know if they're going for that, let's have a contest to talk like this. But at some point, right?
The brooding contest.
The brooding contest gets to be, and it's like he brings this life to it and this humor that's fantastic. And I think you probably all feel that is probably why you're here.
I should be paying you for like my publicist fee. This is too good. This would be a two-man show. We can show up in cities and he talks about me. It's great.
I'll kick every publicist butt.
Is there room for a little one?
Oh yeah! Ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry I'm late, guys.
I think you grew up around the corner, right?
I grew up not far from here. Yeah. Apparently, we just found out, because this is England, and obviously it's Wales Comic Con, which I've done a bunch of. And I was like, it's interesting, Wales Comic Con being in England. And I just found out that actually Telford was actually part of Wales in the 6th century, and the English took it off us. So rather than us now invading,
of course they did,
with Wales, exactly. So rather than us invading Wales with invading England with Wales Comic Con, we're just taking back the land.
Fantastic.
Rightfully here,
right?
Wow, so it's the takeover is literal now. We're taking it back.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm good with that. What was it like the whole process? You two, I guess, had the easy bags in, like, you had trench coats, you had the whole like spandex tights, capes. How was it getting into those roles? Like I said, that's the nice easy way, and then you've got. I have no idea how you get into these.
Yeah.
Well, I think spandex is a little tighter. That's for sure. You look like you feel pretty comfortable, and wearing. But wearing suits all the time is not always. Were your suits comfortable with the trench coat?
Yeah,
And everything?
the great thing is like, on Legends of Tomorrow, everybody has their superhero costumes. But John Constantine is literally a roughed up tie, a trench coat, and a shirt. And I have the microphone wired into the tie. So I don't even need to go to sound to get wired. So I literally just walk out, and I don't even need a costume fitting throughout the whole season. It's just like
the same thing.
It's the same thing all the time. And they're like, do you think John would wear something different? I'm like, nah. Read all the comics. Doesn't really change it. So, yeah, so it's easier for me, I imagine, than it was for you, Zach.
Yeah, my costume involved some like baby powder and I had two people that I felt like a
so
toddler.
unnecessary, but he insisted that you brought the baby powder.
They brought the baby powder. Yeah. I felt like a toddler must feel. I guess I felt very reminiscent of when I was a child, and my parents were like putting me in like footy pajamas, and they're like pulling them up your legs, and then I was like upsies, and then we'd stand up and we'd put the rest of it on. It was so tight. It was so tight. But it was also, I mean, you guys can attest to this too. When you look at yourself in costume, whatever the costume is, like it helps you to literally teleport into that character so much more deeply. And so the first time I saw myself standing there with the Shazam costume on, I was like, this is the fucking coolest. This is I'm that guy, And so, it was like, I was very claustrophobic because it was very, very tight. And I was like, okay, just become one with the suit, Zach. Yeah. Just become one with the suit. And that was my little mantra. But it was difficult to go to the bathroom in. I think
that's that. You just have to, time things.
You just got to go.
Yeah.
Whenever you needed to. Yeah. I could only, in order to go number one, I had to have somebody unzip some deals down here. Little flappage. Yeah, it was crazy. And then if I wanted to take a number two, I couldn't. I had to take the entire suit off if I wanted to drop a deuce. So that was inconvenient as well. But my bowels stayed strong. So yeah.
And that's the moral of the story.
And that's the moral of the story.
For me, it was. I mean, no one's ever hired me to be a superhero, and that's for damn sure. And so when if I was rarely in a point of my life, never would I say I was just not. I was like, I wasn't huge, and I came to do I was doing Law and Order SVU, and I was the pilot of Gotham was about to start, and I saw Danny. I ran into this guy, Danny Cannon, who created the show with Bruno Heller in the hotel, and he's like, "Mate, you've got to eat." Like, I was like, "Oh, I've got a free pass to just not give a shit." Zach has to be like, I'm sure, dude, you were lifting, you were in great shape. Like, everybody, there's a responsibility with superhero stuff to be.
Oh yeah, lots of chicken and broccoli.
Yeah, chicken and broccoli, not Harvey Bullock. That's for damn sure.
I mean, that's what's good about John as well. He's kind of a chain-smoking alcoholic. So it's like, you're standing next to, we just did the crossover and standing next to two Supermen. And I'm like, yeah, I don't need to do that, kind of a little bit easier,
Like, Matt actually chose a character to play chain-smoking alcoholic.
It found me. What can I say?
Art imitating life.
They offered him Batman, and he's like, does he chain smoke and drink?
We're only that easy. I wish we could just get jobs like that.
I guess it's time to throw out to the crowd. So if you've got any questions, please, loud and proud hands. We've got two mics either side.
I see a hand here. That one. That was the first one I saw.
Had mics on the way.
The second one, I think, should be that lady right back there. What the?
Hey. Hi. I was just wondering, did you guys read comics when you were growing up, and did you have a favourite superhero at all? Or do you have a favourite now?
Well, Shazam. I was a big Marvel kid growing up, as far as reading comics, and was super into the mutant world specifically. I was big X-Men, X-Force, X-Factor, all that kind of jazz. I loved it. Because partly I really believed, I still believe, that if we're ever, any of us, going to become actual, like, superheroes, it'll be through a mutation of some kind. Like, there's days I wake up in the morning and I'm like, maybe something changed in the night. I'll try and move something with telekinesis and I fail. But yeah, I always thought, oh, that's actually like a maybe avenue that we'll get there. And I don't know, all the team stuff with it I thought was all really cool. My favorite X-Men was probably Gambit, actually, eventually. I loved all of them a lot, but all my buddies wanted to be Wolverine. Like, we were running around pretending to be, you know, like you do, like we still do. And we all wanted to be Wolverine. And I was like, I want to be Gambit. He's like cool and Cajun and French and stuff. And he's got a bow staff. And he's got this incredible love affair with Rogue, who we can't touch. Right? Anyway. So I was into all that kind of stuff. But I thought Deadpool was probably my favorite of all the characters. And I wanted to play Deadpool so bad. And then Ryan Reynolds did it. But he did such a great job, so I'll let him do it.
I was a big fan of the Christopher Reeve's Superman and Tim Burton's Batman. They were like what I grew up on, really. I wasn't a huge comic book reader, and when I first had the audition for Constantine, one of my friends has his own comic book company called Improper Books. Good plug for him there. But he was a huge Hellblazer and Constantine fan. And when I was auditioning for it, I was kind of familiar with it through the Keanu Reeves movie and stuff. But he literally called me and went, I'm sending you the comics. These are the ones to look at. And this is how it's got to be done, you know? And he just gave me a lowdown on the character. And then I started from number one, and I just read and read and read. And I fell in love with the comics. And I would always have a comic book on set. And you know, if there's something I couldn't quite find, it's just something so visceral about like the panels, you know, there's such a physicality to it. And I found that really helped me with the character and get into the character as well. It's just the visual element of the comic books. And I felt like everything was like, you know, he's always got an angle with a cigarette out of him and the style of how he is physically. And I fell in love with the comics. I'm reading the new ones now, which are pretty awesome. So yeah, that's kind of my relationship and history with comics.
I was born in '66, so weirdly Batman and Shazam was the goofy '70s show with, and Batman was kind of the '60s version. But I liked my two comics were the Fantastic Four and Richie Rich. Those were the ones I was really into, just because I found them. Like, we didn't buy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you get them out like the spinner racks at like the liquor store.
I lived in a town called Nogales, Arizona. So it's a pretty obscure American city on the Mexican border. And then I would come here in the summertime to England, to Leicester. And I don't know if you can, anyone in the audience who's of my age group, but the comics seem to be all World War II oriented or football. And there were like all these great swerving, kicks. And the comics were like football and World War II. And as a young kind of American visiting relatives, I was like, you guys were in World War II? Like, yes.
Learn something new every
You were
day.
late to the party. I was like, man, in America, we all just think we won World War II, by ourselves. But anyway, but so I learned a lot as a 10-year-old in Leicester. So thank you.
We got the.
I think, yeah, she's, yeah, there you go.
I'm going to stand up.
Stand up.
Sorry. Hi, Zach.
Stand up and be
You signed my
comfy.
T-shirt from yesterday. Remember?
You're welcome.
Thank you. So first of all, thank you guys for being here and making a lot of fans' dreams come true.
Thank you for being here. Thank you all for being here.
Yeah.
So I just want this is towards Zach, if that's all right. So as
I got this, guys.
briefly discussed yesterday, I've only become a fan of yourself after watching Shazam this year. Thank you to this gentleman here.
Well done, sir.
And after watching Shazam, I thought I've got to see what this Mr. Levi is all about. So I discovered you're ambassador for mental health, and I started following you on social media because of that. I'm so glad I did. Aside from your obvious dashing good looks, I've discovered how open and honest you are about about the good and the bad times that you've been through. Sorry. I've also discovered just how relatable you are to me. You've helped me to realise that although I've been through all the shit that I have, and I'm currently the happiest I've been in a very long time, I'm still not where I want to be, and I just need to continue to fight for that. I just need to know where to begin, and possibly, like you do mention a lot on your Instagram, self-love and realising that. So, my question, as well as your opinion on that, would you ever date a mum?
She's got jokes,
You're
guys.
welcome, lady.
She's got jokes.
You're welcome, ladies and children.
Would I ever date a mom? I mean, I don't know. If it was the right mom, I guess. But going back to what you were saying before, thank you for sharing that, by the way, and thank you for sharing that at the table yesterday. It's self-love. You have got to, if I can just take a moment and I'll address you and everybody here, we have to love ourselves. We have got to understand that we are worthy of loving ourselves. And when we can understand that, then hopefully we can start that process, and then we can be so much better at loving each other. And we have got to do this, guys. If we're ever going to be the cool, like Star Trek version of the world, where we get to go to other planets and we have replicators and fucking beam me up Scotties, we have got to work together to get there, and we won't work together if we keep hating ourselves and hating each other. So can we all agree that we need to love ourselves and love each other? Can we do that? And so that's step one. So that's step one. And honestly, I think I asked you yesterday, I would imagine, but are you in therapy? And if you're not in therapy...
I underwent therapy last year. I went through CBT.
Okay.
Since then, I've joined my local police force and I now feel people.
Excellent. That's excellent. That's excellent. Maintain going to therapy. We all need therapy. I know a lot of us out there think, all those people need therapy. I don't need therapy. It's a beautiful thing. And honestly, we're all dealing with even a little bit of mental unwellness. We are. Guys, it's as common as the cold or a cavity. That's how common it is. If you have anxiety at all, if you have fear at all, if you have stress at all, if you have depression at all, and I've had all of those things in my life, and I still struggle with those things, that's only because you're normal. We're all struggling with it. So the more we can talk about it, the more we destigmatize it, and the more we all feel like, oh, I can go and do that because I'm worthy of loving myself and getting the help that I need. So go to therapy, keep going to therapy, and keep loving yourself. Does that work for you? Yeah, you're welcome. Absolutely. And I'll remind you of that every single time you ask.
Another question at the back there.
This question's for Matt Ryan. I was just wondering if before you joined Legends of Tomorrow, did you watch it?
Yeah, I'd seen a couple of episodes of it, and then I was actually doing a play in London when they asked me to do the first episode of Legends. So then I went and watched it again, and it was a really interesting thing because the style of the show was so different to Constantine. And my thing was, how does he fit into that? And also, Constantine's a loner. You know, there's that great line, I walk my path alone because, let's be honest, who would be crazy enough to walk it with me? And I was like, well, how does this guy then fit in to this kind of goofy show? But the first episode I did was quite dark. They really lent into kind of the style of what we were doing on my show. And I felt like it was a really good a juxtaposition and balance to the stuff that they were doing, and actually meant that they could be even crazier because there was an emotional core in a way. Not that there wasn't before, but a different kind of rooting through the character of Constantine for the show. And then I fell in love with it. The first day on set after I joined, I was literally doing a walk and talk with Katie Lotz, and I turn around and there's all the cast dressed up in hippie clothes, humping trees and doing wheelbarrows, and I'm just like, oh, this is going to be an interesting ride, And it's just, the writers are amazing. I find that if you can go from a killer unicorn to a fairy godmother in one episode and it's normal, it's like, okay, they're doing something kind of really wacky and out there. But I think that Constantine is kind of Constantine wherever he goes and really lends something to that. So, but yeah, I did watch the show a little bit before I went on it.
And we're just here.
Hi, this is for Donal Logue. You've played in both Marvel and DC. What's the difference?
Why I really loved this is just my personal just stuff I'm into. I'm really into. There's something about when I was first told about Gotham by Bruno Heller, even though it's Gotham, there was something that he described as being very Los Angeles noir. And it's super specific, right? It's Raymond Chandler and stuff. And so I there's the difference, I think, a little bit is that DC can be something like a black and white noir kind of thriller that doesn't involve as much superhero. It's more like people having the access to the kind of technology that they might have access to, broken childhoods becoming. Now, that being said, Marvel explores humanity in a very similar way. Like, it's a Greek mask, and the Greeks did it really well, and we haven't really changed the wheel. But I love both of them, but I always thought that DC was a little bit more moored towards a broken psychological profile, and I like the fact that people, like in the Batman universe at least, Batman wasn't someone who had the same powers as Superman. I know this is, it's both in DC, but that's kind of my general vague feelings about it, because I was lucky to be, the Marvel universe is phenomenal. And I think, there wasn't Comic-Cons. A couple of decades ago, there was, when people, I grew up near San Diego, so when people talked about the San Diego Comic-Con, it was 8 tables and 400 people. Like, this is amazing, and it's because of Marvel and DC. Thanks.
I think we've got time for maybe one, maybe two more questions. We've got one over there somewhere.
Hi guys.
Hi.
I just have a question for Donal. I've been a big fan of since Terriers and True Law and Order and in Gotham. So great shows.
Thank you.
I'm just curious, when did you choose to go in? Like, I know you went to university. When did acting become the choice you wanted to make? And I know you've worked with your sister too, so family dynamics too. What's it like working with siblings?
My sister's a genius, Karina, and thank you. I don't know if Zach and Matt probably might feel the same way. I went to university, and my roommate's he's a really talented writer and performer. And my other friend was like, dude, go to audition for plays to piss Adam off. Right? So, because I was like drunk and loud and thought. So I went to audition for plays. I sucked. I didn't get called back for any. And I remember looking on the list, and then someone dropped out of something, and they called me up for this small thing, and I went. And I remember just being nervous opening night, and then going in front of the audience, and that was like I had smoked the heaviest dose of crack I'd ever been. I was like, this is going to be my life. And I was in a traveling theater company called Cornerstone after college. I did a ton of plays. I came to England, and so I didn't even know that television and film was a possibility. I knew it was out there, but so thank you, theater. If any of you want to get involved in the acting side of things, please don't even worry about agents or this or that. Just go do a play with. We did them in the basement of dorms and stuff, and it was always thrilling. You're nervous. It's fascinating. It's fun to share with people, and it's an art form that's available to everyone as much as it feels like.
Yeah,
it's not, So
we created this play once when I was in college, and we created this company called Room 16, and then we did the play 2, which was by Jim Cartwright. It's only supposed to have 2 people in it, but we had loads of different people in it, and we went to different pubs and just did it in the pubs around the place. So people were having a drink, and then next minute there'd be a scene going on, and it was like, it's so terrifying but exhilarating and wonderful, Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, what about real quick? When you
theater. I mean, I was going to say, if you want to be, if you want to get into acting, theater, do more theater. It's the bedrock. It's the foundation of all of that. You're, learning how to be present in a scene with a scene partner, learning how to build a character, empathizing with that character, walking truly in their shoes and bringing that to life. Like, all of that stuff is fundamentals that you can go and do in really fun experimental ways, like going to pubs and things of that nature. But Yeah, I did theater basically since middle school or like grade 6 or something like that. Middle school, high school. And then I went to 3 days of community college and I was like, this is for the birds. What am I doing here? But I also lived 45 minutes away from LA and was like, I'm going to try and commit myself to going and commuting down to LA and auditioning for film and television. So, but after doing a lot of theater, community theater and all that stuff, I got into doing film and TV. But it's the best. And I've gotten to do Broadway now a couple of times, and it's so rewarding. And it's crazy, though. 8 shows a week is like no joke. Yeah. You'll start going crazy.
Yeah, you do.
Got our one final question, which I believe is down here.
Oh, this better be good.
Yeah, no pressure. No pressure.
Hi.
Hi.
I just want to say thank you to all of you guys for coming out today and just to meet us little people. It's great that you've come to do that. But if it was the tables were turned and you guys had come to Comic-Con, who would you be all excited to meet?
These guys.
Kiss ass. I don't know. Who do I?
You know, for a lot of us too, we get to see each other. Matt and I kind of met in this world because of Warner Brother type events at San Diego Comic-Con. And Zach and I met through Sarah Shahi on the Universal lot.
Yeah. You were doing Life, and I was doing Chuck. Yeah.
And so when we come to these things, Joey Pants, these are people that we've all known over the 30 years or however long we've been doing this. And so for us, it's a chance to get to see friends. Yeah. And we were, like Zach said, he went to junior college for 3 days. Just another anonymous dude in junior college who's like, enough of this crap. Matt's from Wales. We all come from...
Says it all.
So the same. We are from here. We are from small towns. We were all from small towns. And what Matt, and really quick for what Zach said and what this lady said that was really nice, it's about the self-love, which is so hard, right? But the first time, I was lucky. I got my first audition, got a part, got my first couple, which is ridiculous. But I auditioned for this movie Sneakers with Robert Redford and Ben Keaton.
Yes.
I didn't have an agent.
I love
And they brought me back for this huge part as this mathematician for this big speech. And I walk I'm 24 at the time or whatever, and I walk in the waiting room to go in for the final thing. And I'm like, ooh, Oscar nominated, Oscar winning, Oscar nominated. That was up for my part, not for it. It was supposed to be older, not just the Robert Redfords and stuff. And my immediate reaction was like, I'm not going to waste the time of the producers and the casting director. I'm going to go in and do it as quickly as I can and get out so they can get to these big time people. And I thought for the first time in my life, really in a weird way, why not me? Not in an a-hole way, right? It's going to be someone. Why not you? Whatever it is that you want, it's going to be someone. And if you think of it as how can you be of service to whatever you're doing, if it happens to be a project like a film or a television show, okay, or your job or whatever. But if you're of service and why not you, good things will start to happen. So thank you for having us.
Yeah. Thank you, Will.
Yeah.
Thank you, England.
Please make some noise, Zachary Levi, Donal Logue, Matt Ryan.
Thank you, guys.